The vast expanse of space was quiet, too quiet. Countless stars twinkled in the darkness, their light traveling for years to reach this corner of the universe. But among these stars, a sinister force lurked. This was the domain of the Galactic Empire, a regime so powerful and far-reaching that it had dominated thousands of worlds for millennia. At the heart of this empire sat Emperor Zaxlor, a being of immense power and cruelty. His species, the Zoxian, had evolved far beyond what most would consider humanoid, with skin like polished obsidian and eyes that glowed with an eerie purple light. Zaxlor was a sight that struck fear into the hearts of even the bravest warriors. From his throne on the capital planet of Zox Prime, Emperor Zaxlor ruled with an iron fist. His word was law, and his laws were harsh. Entire planets lived in fear of his wrath, knowing that a single misstep could mean the destruction of their world. The Empire's technology was beyond the comprehension of most species. Their ships could travel faster than light, jumping across galaxies in mere hours. Their weapons could shatter planets, turning thriving worlds into asteroid fields with a single blast. And their ability to manipulate the very fabric of space-time itself gave them an advantage that seemed unbeatable. But power breeds arrogance, and arrogance breeds blindness. In a small, unassuming arm of a galaxy the Empire considered insignificant, a tiny blue planet orbited an unremarkable yellow star. This planet, known to its inhabitants as Earth, had been overlooked by the Empire for centuries. It was considered too primitive, too unimportant to warrant attention. Little did the Empire know that this oversight would be their greatest mistake. On Earth, life went on as it always had. People went about their daily lives, unaware of the great powers that ruled the stars above them. They worked, they played, they loved, and they dreamed. But among them, a select few knew the truth. In secret underground bases and hidden laboratories, Earth's brightest minds worked tirelessly. They had discovered the existence of the Empire decades ago, through intercepted transmissions and recovered alien technology. And they knew that one day, the Empire would turn its gaze upon Earth. But humanity refused to be caught unprepared. Dr. Sarah Chen, head of Earth's secret space program, stood before a holographic display of the Milky Way. Her eyes, filled with determination, scanned the countless stars and planets. She knew that somewhere out there, a threat loomed. But she also knew that humanity had a secret weapon, their indomitable spirit. "We may be small," she whispered to herself, "but we will not go quietly into the night." In shipyards hidden beneath the surface of Mars, massive vessels took shape. These ships, built with technology reverse-engineered from crashed alien crafts, represented humanity's best hope for survival. They incorporated ideas and innovations that even the Empire had never conceived of. Meanwhile, on military bases around the world, soldiers trained in combat techniques designed to counter alien threats. They learned to use weapons that could pierce the strongest alien armor and studied tactics that could outsmart even the most advanced AI battle systems. But perhaps humanity's greatest strength lay not in its technology or its military might, but in its diversity. Unlike the homogeneous empire, Earth was a melting pot of cultures, ideas, and perspectives. This diversity bred creativity and adaptability, traits that would prove crucial in the coming conflict. As the Earth continued its quiet orbit around the Sun, blissfully ignored by the vast empire that dominated the stars, a storm was brewing. The human race, united as never before by the knowledge of the threat they faced, was preparing for a war that would shake the very foundations of the galaxy. Little did Emperor Zaxlor know, as he sat upon his throne billions of light years away, that the next great challenge to his power was stirring on a planet he had deemed unworthy of his attention. The stage was set for a conflict that would determine the fate of not just humanity, but of all the oppressed species throughout the galaxy. The Galactic Empire had ruled unopposed for thousands of years. But change was coming, and it would come from the most unexpected place of all, a small blue planet called Earth. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility unknown to most of humanity, A group of the world's brightest minds gathered around a holographic display. The image showed a complex array of satellites orbiting Earth, each one a vital part of humanity's early warning system. Dr. Emily Jung, the lead astrophysicist, pointed to a blinking red dot on the display. "We've detected another Empire scout ship," she said, her voice tense. "That's the third one this month." General Michael Rodriguez, a battle-hardened veteran now in charge of Earth's defense program, frowned. "They're getting bolder. We need to speed up our preparations." The room fell silent as the weight of his words sank in. For years, they had been working in secret, preparing for the day when humanity would have to face the Galactic Empire. That day, it seemed, was drawing ever closer. In another part of the facility, Dr. James Chen, no relation to Sarah Chen, was putting the finishing touches on humanity's newest weapon. It was a device that could manipulate gravity itself, allowing ships to move in ways that defied conventional physics. "If this works," he muttered to himself, "we'll have an edge even the Empire won't expect." As he worked, his mind wandered to the early days of the program. It had started small, with recovered alien technology that most had dismissed as hoaxes or conspiracy theories. But as more evidence came to light, the world's governments had been forced to accept the truth. Earth was not alone, and it was woefully unprepared for what lay beyond its atmosphere. That realization had led to the formation of the Global Defense Initiative, GDI, a secret organization tasked with preparing humanity for the inevitable confrontation with the Empire. The GDI had brought together the best and brightest from every corner of the globe, all working towards a common goal: survival. Meanwhile, in orbit around Jupiter, humanity's first interstellar warship was nearing completion. The HSS Defiant was a marvel of engineering, incorporating both reverse-engineered alien technology and human innovation. Its hull was made of a new alloy that could withstand the heat of a star, and its engines could bend space-time itself. Captain Isham Kruma stood on the bridge of the Defiant, looking out at the vast expanse of space. She had been chosen to lead humanity's first battle fleet, a responsibility that weighed heavily on her shoulders. "Status report," she called out to her crew. "All systems are go, Captain," replied her first officer, Lieutenant Rajpatal. "We're ready for our first test flight." Ashab took a deep breath. This was it, the moment that would determine whether humanity had a fighting chance against the Empire. "Engage the drive," she ordered. The ship hummed to life, its revolutionary engines powering up. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, in the blink of an eye, Jupiter disappeared from view, replaced by the unfamiliar starscape of a distant solar system. Back on Earth, in the White House Situation Room, the President of the United States sat with her counterparts from Russia, China, and the European Union. They were discussing the final stages of their plan. "The fleet will be ready within the month," the U.S. President said. "But are we ready for the consequences of revealing ourselves to the galaxy?" The Russian president leaned forward. "We have no choice. It's either fight now, on our terms, or wait for the Empire to discover us and crush us without mercy." The Chinese president nodded in agreement. "We have spent decades preparing. Our people are united as never before. We must trust in their strength and ingenuity." As the leaders of Earth made their final preparations, ordinary people around the world went about their daily lives, unaware of the monumental events unfolding in secret. Farmers tended their fields, not knowing that the crops they grew were being stockpiled for a war that would span the stars. Factory workers assembled components, oblivious to the fact that they were building parts for starships. But there were signs for those who knew where to look. The sudden advancements in technology, the global push for unity and cooperation, the increased focus on space exploration. All of these were pieces of a larger puzzle. In a small classroom in Nigeria, a young girl named Adora raised her hand during a lesson about the solar system. "Teacher," she asked, "do you think there's anyone else out there?" The teacher smiled, hiding the weight of the secret she carried. "The universe is a big place, Adora. I'm sure we'll find out someday." Little did Adora know that someday was coming sooner than anyone could have imagined. Humanity was about to take its first steps onto the galactic stage, and nothing would ever be the same again. The day had finally arrived. After years of secret preparations, Earth was ready to unveil its fleet to the galaxy. The air was thick with tension and excitement as final checks were made on the ships that would carry humanity's hopes and dreams to the stars. At Cape Canaveral, now expanded into a massive spaceport, crowds gathered behind safety barriers. They had been told this was a new international space station launch. The truth was far more momentous. Admiral Sarah Chen, once the head of Earth's secret space program and now commander of humanity's first interstellar fleet, stood on a platform overlooking the launch site. Her heart raced as she surveyed the scene before her. 5 massive ships stood ready on the launch pads. Each one was a marvel of human ingenuity and reverse-engineered alien technology. The flagship, HS Horizon, gleamed in the morning sun, its sleek design belying the immense power contained within. Sarah took a deep breath and spoke into her comlink. All ships, report status. One by one, the captains of each vessel responded, confirming their readiness. Last to speak was Captain Isham Kruma of the HSS Defiant, the first ship to have successfully tested the new faster-than-light drive. Yes, Defiant, ready and eager, Admiral. Aisha's voice crackled through the comm. Sarah nodded, then turned to face the bank of cameras set up nearby. It was time to tell the world the truth. People of Earth, she began, her voice broadcast globally. For decades, we have kept a secret from you. A secret that will change everything you thought you knew about our place in the universe. As Sarah spoke, explaining the existence of the Galactic Empire and the threat it posed, reactions around the world ranged from disbelief to fear to determination. In New York, crowds in Times Square watched in stunned silence. In Beijing, people hugged each other, seeking comfort in the face of this world-shaking news. In Lagos, cheers erupted as Sarah described the fleet that would defend Earth. Back at Cape Canaveral, Sarah concluded her speech. Today, we take our first step into a larger galaxy. We go not as conquerors, but as defenders of freedom, not just for humanity, but for all species oppressed by the Empire. With those words, she gave the command. Launch the fleet. The ground shook as the first ship, HS Horizon, ignited its engines. Slowly at first, then with gathering speed, it rose into the sky. One by one, the other ships followed. HS Defiant, HSS Unity, HS Nova, and HSS Quantum. As the ships climbed higher, their new engines kicked in. In a flash of light that lit up the sky like a second sun, they'd vanished, jumping to a preset rendezvous point just beyond the orbit of Mars. In space, the sight was even more spectacular. The 5 ships emerged from their jump, their hulls glowing faintly from the stress of the faster-than-light travel. They'd moved into formation, ready for the long journey ahead. On the bridge of HS Horizon, Admiral Chen looked out at the stars. Status report, she called out. All ships present and accounted for, Admiral, her XO, Commander John Taylor, reported. All systems nominal. We're ready to proceed to Phase 2. Sarah nodded. Send the signal to the rest of the fleet. Across the solar system, hidden shipyards around Mercury, Venus, and in the asteroid belt sprang to life. Hundreds of smaller warships and support vessels emerged, joining the 5 capital ships. Within hours, a fleet of over 500 vessels had assembled. It was an armada the likes of which humanity had never before created, but one that they hoped would be enough to challenge the might of the Galactic Empire. As the fleet made final preparations for their first long-range jump, the mood on Earth was a mix of pride, fear, and hope. In homes, bars, and public squares, people watched the news, trying to come to terms with their new reality. In London, an old man raised a toast to the fleet. In Rio de Janeiro, people danced in the streets, celebrating humanity's new adventure. In Tokyo, engineers who had worked on the project in secret for years finally told their families the truth about their work. tears of relief and worry in their eyes. On the International Space Station, the astronauts had a unique view of the launching fleet. Commander Elena Volkova, her voice filled with awe, made one final transmission before the fleet jumped away. "Good luck and Godspeed," she said. "Defend our home. We'll be waiting for your return." With that, Admiral Chen gave the order. In a dazzling display of light and energy, the entire fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed, leaving the solar system behind. The Galactic Empire, ruling from its distant throne, had no idea that its days of unchallenged dominion were numbered. Humanity was coming, and they were bringing with them the one thing the Empire had never expected: hope. The human fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of a star system controlled by the Galactic Empire. It was a small outpost, chosen carefully as the site of humanity's first strike against their oppressors. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the HSS Horizon, her eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the system ahead. "Status report," she commanded, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. "All ships accounted for, Admiral," replied Commander Taylor. "No damage from the long jump. The Empire doesn't seem to have detected us yet." Sarah nodded. This was their chance to catch the Empire off guard. "Launched stealth probes. I want a full scan of the system before we make our move." As the probes silently spread out, the crew of the Horizon and the other ships waited with bated breath. This was the moment they had trained for, but nothing could truly prepare them for the reality of facing an enemy that had dominated the galaxy for millennia. On the planet below, life continued as normal for the Empire's forces. The outpost was a small one, tasked with monitoring this sector of space for any signs of rebellion. Little did they know that the greatest threat to the Empire was about to announce its presence. Suddenly, alarms blared across the Imperial base. Captain Zexlor, a young and ambitious officer of the Zoxian race, rushed to the command center. "Report," he barked. A nervous technician looked up from his console. "Sir, we're detecting multiple unknown vessels entering the system. They just appeared out of nowhere." Zexlor's eyes widened. This was unprecedented. No known species had the technology to evade the Empire's detection systems like this. "Scramble the fighters," he ordered, "and send a message to Imperial Command. We're under attack." Back on the Horizon, Sarah received the report from the probes. "The Empire has detected us," she announced to the fleet. "All ships, battle stations, remember your training. Today, we show the galaxy that humanity is a force to be reckoned with." The human fleet sprang into action. Fighters launched from the carriers, while the larger ships moved into defensive formations. The Empire's response was swift, but disorganized. They had never faced an enemy like this before. As the two forces clashed, the difference in technology became apparent. The human ships, powered by a combination of reverse-engineered alien tech and human innovation, easily outmaneuvered their Imperial counterparts. On the HSS Defiant, Captain Isham Kruma watched as her ship's gravity weapons sent an Imperial cruiser spinning out of control. "Direct hit," her weapons officer cheered. But the Empire's forces weren't going down without a fight. Despite their initial shock, they began to rally. Captain Zexlor, proving his worth as a commander, organized a counterattack. "Focus fire on their largest ship," he ordered, targeting the Horizon. The Imperial ships concentrated their fire, their energy weapons splashing against the Horizon's shields. But to Zexlor's shock, the human flagship emerged unscathed. "Impossible," he muttered. "Nothing can withstand that much firepower." Aboard the Horizon, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The shield technology, a breakthrough born from years of secret research, was proving its worth. "Return fire," she commanded. "Show them what we can do." The Horizon's main cannon charged up, drawing power from its revolutionary reactor. A beam of energy, more powerful than anything the Empire had ever seen, lanced out across space. It struck the Imperial command ship, cutting through its shields like they were paper. The battle raged on, but it was clear that the tide was turning in humanity's favor. The Empire's ships, once thought invincible, were falling one by one to the superior tactics and technology of the human fleet. As the last Imperial ship in the system was disabled, a cheer went up across the human fleet. They had done it. They had faced the Galactic Empire and emerged victorious. But Sarah knew this was just the beginning. "Send the message," she ordered. Across every communication channel in the sector, in languages understood by every species in the Empire, a single message was broadcast. To the Galactic Empire, your days of tyranny are numbered. Humanity has entered the galactic stage, and we bring with us hope for all oppressed species. This is your only warning. End your oppressive rule or face the consequences. As the message echoed across space, Sarah looked out at the stars. The real war was just beginning, but humanity had made its stand. The galaxy would never be the same again. News of humanity's victory spread like wildfire across the Galactic Empire. At first, many dismissed it as a mere rebel skirmish, but as more reports came in, the truth became undeniable. A new species had emerged, one with the power to challenge the Empire's supremacy. Emperor Zaxlor, his purple eyes glowing with rage, Zhou Jai at his war council. "How is this possible?" he roared, his voice echoing through the grand hall of his palace on Zox Prime. "How did we not know about these humans?" The council members squirmed uncomfortably. None wanted to admit their oversight. Finally, Grand Admiral Vexera, a seasoned veteran of countless battles, spoke up. "My Emperor, it seems they hid themselves well. But now that we know of them, we will crush them like we have crushed all who opposed us before." Zaxlor nodded, his anger cooling into a cold determination. "Prepare the fleet, all of it. We will show these humans the true might of the Galactic Empire." As the Empire mobilized its forces, humanity was not idle. Admiral Sarah Chen knew that their initial victory, while impressive, was just the beginning. The real test was yet to come. On Earth, factories worked around the clock, producing more ships and weapons. The Global Defense Initiative had planned for this moment for years, and now their preparations were paying off. Every nation, every person, was united in the war effort. In a secret facility deep under the Pacific Ocean, Dr. James Chen, no relation to Sarah, made a breakthrough. "We've done it," he announced to his team, his eyes shining with excitement. "We've cracked the code of the Empire's communication network." This discovery was a game-changer. For the first time, humanity could listen in on the Empire's plans, giving them a crucial advantage. Meanwhile, in the depths of space, Captain Aisha Nkrumah of the HMS Defiant was on a different mission. Her ship, along with a small task force, was visiting planets oppressed by the Empire, spreading the word of humanity's stand against tyranny. On the planet Psylocke, a world of towering crystal forests and beings of living energy, Aisha addressed a gathering of resistance leaders. "We offer you not just hope," she said, her voice translated by advanced AI, "but a chance to fight back. Join us, and together we can end the Empire's reign of terror." Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. Species that had suffered under the Empire's rule for generations saw in humanity a spark of hope. Many chose to join the fight, bringing with them unique abilities and technologies that strengthened the growing alliance. But the Empire was far from defeated. Their counterattack, when it came, was swift and brutal. A massive fleet, larger than any seen before, punched into human-controlled space. Admiral Chen, aboard the HSS Horizon, watched the tactical display with growing concern. The Imperial fleet outnumbered them 5-1. "All ships, battle formations," she ordered, her voice calm despite the odds. "Remember what we're fighting for." The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Imperial ships, relying on their superior numbers, pressed forward relentlessly. But the human fleet, joined now by ships from allied species, fought with unprecedented creativity and determination. On the bridge of his flagship, Grand Admiral Vexera watched in disbelief as his carefully laid plans fell apart. Human ships seemed to appear and disappear at will, striking from impossible angles. Their weapons cut through Imperial defenses like they weren't even there. "What manner of devilry is this?" he muttered, watching another battlecruiser explode. What the Empire didn't know was that humanity's ships were equipped with experimental phase shift technology, allowing them to briefly slip between dimensions. It made them nearly impossible to hit and allowed them to attack from unexpected vectors. As the battle raged on, more and more Imperial ships fell. The tide was turning, but victory was far from assured. Both sides had suffered heavy losses, and the fighting had spread to multiple star systems. On Earth, people watched the news with a mixture of hope and fear. Holographic displays in every major city showed the progress of the war. Cheers erupted with every Imperial ship destroyed. But the cost in human lives was a constant, sobering reminder of the stakes. In orbit around a contested planet, the HSS Defiant found itself surrounded by enemy ships. Captain Kruma looked at her crew, determination in her eyes. "We may fall here," she said, "but we will take as many of them with us as we can. For Earth." Her words galvanized the crew. Against all odds, they fought on, their ship a beacon of defiance in the face of overwhelming force. As the battle reached its climax, it was clear that this was more than just a military engagement. It was a clash of ideologies, of hope against oppression, of freedom against tyranny. And slowly but surely, hope was winning. The galaxy watched and waited, knowing that the outcome of this conflict would shape the future for millennia to come. The age of the Galactic Empire was ending. The age of humanity had begun. The war had raged across the galaxy for months. Both sides had suffered heavy losses, but humanity and its allies had slowly gained the upper hand. Now, the time had come for the final push. The target, Zox Prime, the heart of the Galactic Empire. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the HSS Horizon, looking out at the massive fleet assembled before her. Ships of all shapes and sizes, representing dozens of species who had joined humanity's cause, filled the view. This was it, the moment that would decide the fate of the galaxy. "All ships, report in," Sarah ordered, her voice steady despite the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. One by one, the fleet commanders responded. Captain Aishan Kruma of the HSS Defiant, her ship scared but unbroken from countless battles, was the last to speak. Defiant, ready and willing. "Admiral, let's end this." Sarah nodded, then addressed the entire fleet. "Today, we fight not just for Earth, but for every being who has suffered under the Empire's rule. Remember why we're here. Remember what we're fighting for. For freedom." A cheer went up across the communication channels. Then, with a flash of light, the combined fleet jumped into hyperspace, heading for the final confrontation. On Zox Prime, Emperor Zaxlor paced in his war room. Holographic displays showed the approaching enemy fleet. His purple eyes narrowed as he surveyed the scene. "They dare to attack us here, in the heart of our empire," he snarled. Grand Admiral Vexera, looking older and more worn than ever, stepped forward. "My Emperor, we have assembled every ship we could. Our orbital defenses are at full power. We will crush these upstarts once and for all." Zaxlor nodded, but doubt gnawed at him. How had it come to this? How had these humans, unknown just months ago, brought his mighty empire to the brink? Suddenly, alarms blared. The human fleet had arrived, appearing out of hyperspace in a dazzling display of light and energy. The battle for Zox Prime had begun. Space lit up with weapons fire. Massive capital ships exchanged broadsides while swarms of fighters darted between them. On the surface of Zox Prime, the Empire's ground forces prepared for a possible invasion. Aboard the HSS Defiant, Captain Kruma led a daring assault on the Empire's orbital defense platforms. Evasive maneuvers, she shouted as enemy fire raked their shields. "Bring us in close. We need to take out those cannons." The Defiant weaved through the battlefield, its advanced engines allowing it to pull off maneuvers that seemed to defy physics. One by one, the orbital platforms fell silent, their destruction opening a path for the Allied fleet. Meanwhile, Sarah coordinated the overall battle from the horizon. Group 3, push forward. Group 5, cover their flank. We need to keep the pressure on. But the Empire wasn't going down without a fight. Grand Admiral Vexera, commanding the Imperial fleet, was a skilled tactician. He managed to split the Allied forces, threatening to divide and conquer them. Sarah saw the danger. Nkrumah, she called over the comm. We need you to break through their line. Can you do it? Consider it done, Admiral, Aisha replied. The Defiant and its escort ships accelerated, aiming for a weak point in the Imperial formation. What followed was a display of piloting skill that would be remembered for generations. The Defiant corkscrewed through a hail of enemy fire, its point defense lasers working overtime to swat aside incoming missiles. At the last moment, Aisha ordered full power to the phase shift drive. The Defiant seemed to flicker out of existence, reappearing behind the enemy line. In the confusion that followed, the Allied fleet surged forward, breaking the Imperial formation. On the surface of Zox Prime, the battle was equally fierce. Allied dropships landed, deploying troops to assault the Imperial palace. Among them was a squad of Earth's finest soldiers, led by Colonel Jake Rodriguez. Remember your training, Jake told his team as their dropship approached the landing zone. The Empire's troops outnumber us, but we have the element of surprise. Let's make Earth proud. The fighting in the streets of the Imperial capital was intense, but the Allied forces, composed of humans and other species who had suffered under the Empire's rule, fought with a determination that the Imperial troops couldn't match. Slowly but surely, they pushed towards the palace. Colonel Rodriguez and his team were at the forefront, their advanced armor and weapons giving them an edge in the close-quarters combat. As the space battle raged overhead and the ground assault neared the palace, Emperor Zaxlor realized that defeat was imminent. He turned to Grand Admiral Vexera, fear visible in his eyes for the first time. "How did it come to this?" he asked. Vexera, loyal to the end, stood at attention. "We underestimated them, my Emperor. We thought size and age equated to strength. We were wrong." In that moment, as his empire crumbled around him, Zaxlor finally understood. The humans hadn't just brought superior technology or tactics. They had brought hope. And against hope, even the mightiest empire could fall. The battle for Zox Prime raged for 3 days. In the end, it was Colonel Jake Rodriguez and his team who breached the Imperial Palace. They fought their way through the ornate halls, past the last desperate defenders, to reach the throne room. Jake kicked open the massive doors, his weapon at the ready. But what he saw inside made him pause. Emperor Zaxlor sat on his throne, looking old and defeated. Grand Admiral Vexera stood beside him, his uniform torn and bloodied. "It's over," Jake said, his voice firm but not unkind. "Surrender, and no more lives need to be lost." For a moment, Zaxlor's eyes flashed with their old fury. But then, slowly, he nodded. "We surrender," he said, his voice barely a whisper. The news spread quickly. Across the galaxy, beings of all species celebrated as word of the Empire's fall reached them. On countless worlds, statues of Zaxlor were torn down. The long night of Imperial rule was over. In orbit above Zox Prime, Admiral Sarah Chen received the news with a mix of joy and solemnity. They had won, but at a great cost. She looked out at the debris field that had once been 2 mighty fleets. "Send out rescue ships," she ordered. "I want everyone picked up, our people and theirs." Captain Aisha Nkrumah, her ship battered but still flying, was among the first to begin rescue operations. As she helped a wounded Imperial pilot into her ship, she realized something profound. "We're not so different, you and I," she said to the surprised alien. "We were all just following orders." On Earth, the celebrations were like nothing ever seen before. People poured into the streets, cheering and hugging strangers. Humanity had not only survived its first contact with alien life, but had liberated a galaxy. But the hard work was just beginning. Representatives from Earth and all the allied species gathered on a neutral planet to discuss the future. The debates were long and sometimes heated. How would they ensure that no one species could ever dominate the others again? How would they rebuild worlds devastated by war? Dr. Emily Zhang, the astrophysicist who had first detected the Empire's scout ships, now found herself as part of Earth's diplomatic team. "We have a unique opportunity," she said during one crucial meeting. "We can build something better than the Empire ever was. A true galactic community, based on mutual respect and cooperation." Her words resonated with many. Over the following weeks, the framework for a new galactic federation began to take shape. It would be a democratic organization, with representatives from all member species. Earth, as the catalyst for change, was offered a leadership role, but to everyone's surprise, they declined. "We're new to the galactic stage," Sarah Chen, now speaking as Earth's representative, explained. "We have much to learn from all of you. Let's lead together." This decision earned humanity even more respect among the other species. Many saw it as a sign that humans truly were different from the empire they had overthrown. As for the former imperial worlds, they were given a choice: join the new federation or govern themselves. Many chose to join, seeing the benefits of cooperation. Others chose independence, and their choice was respected. Emperor Zaxlor and his top officials were put on trial for their crimes. The proceedings were watched across the galaxy. In the end, Zaxlor was sentenced to life imprisonment on a peaceful world, far from any center of power. As he was led away, many thought they saw a look of relief on his face. Years passed. The galaxy began to heal. Trade routes opened up between worlds that had never communicated before. Cultural exchanges led to a flowering of art and music across the stars. Scientific cooperation brought new discoveries that benefited all. On the 5th anniversary of the Empire's fall, a great celebration was held on Earth. Representatives from hundreds of worlds attended. As the sun set over a specially constructed amphitheater, Admiral Sarah Chen, now retired, stood to address the crowd. 5 years ago, we faced a threat that could have ended our species before we had truly begun our journey to the stars, she said. But we did more than survive. We brought hope to a galaxy that had forgotten what hope felt like. We showed that determination, creativity, and the willingness to stand up for what's right can overcome even the mightiest foe. She paused, looking out at the diverse crowd. Humans stood side by side with beings of all shapes and sizes, all united in this moment. "We have much work still to do," Sarah continued. "But looking at all of you, I know this. The future is bright. And we will face it together, as friends, as allies, as a galactic family." As cheers erupted, fireworks lit up the sky. On countless worlds across the galaxy, similar celebrations were taking place. A new era had begun, one of peace, freedom, and endless possibilities. And it had all started with a small blue planet that refused to bow to tyranny. Humanity had taken its place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as liberators and friends. The galaxy would never be the same again.